Are we here? I think we're live. There we go. What is up, ladies? Welcome back to another episode of The Boss Life with Bonds. This is your host, Siobhan Bonnie, or Siobhan Bonds. Still figuring out how we're going to have that flow since I've been going by Coach Bonds for so long. If you're tuning in today with me live, do me a favor and drop a hashtag I'm here so I know that you're here. We got stuff following behind us. If you're catching the replay, do me a favor and drop a hashtag replay and let me know that you tuned in later on. And if you're listening to this on your podcast, do me a favor. And if you enjoy this episode afterwards, screenshot it, share it to your story, and tag me at Siobhan Bonds, SIOBHAN BONS. All right, my eyes are looking a little like I didn't get a full night of sleep last night, and I really did. We've been really leaning into our projector energy and resting so that we can receive all of the downloads and the information and also be able to teach it in a way that people understand and that it blesses someone's day and that sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and focus my sight on the Instagram camera because the Facebook camera is really getting on my nerves. All right, before we start today's podcast, I wanted to go over a couple of announcements. Number one, we are hosting our first ever Mind and Body Retreat. This is going to be October the 20th through the 22nd. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Fly home Monday. If you need to fly home Sunday, I get it. But those are going to be the days of our first ever Mind and Body Retreat. I'm so freaking excited. We're renting out a huge home compound, if you will, down in Puerto Rico. We're going to have 3 days of just diving deep into all of the energy work, all of the spiritual work, some much needed healing, some much needed sisterhood, eating, bonding, breaking bread, exploring the island, and just really getting to know the women of the mind and body community that we have been interacting with from a distance for the past several years. If you want more information about that, in the show notes of today's podcast and in the comments, there will be a link, my link, and it has everything that you need to know about everything I'm going to be announcing. So that will be in the comments and the show notes as well. Also, we're still voting for the top 5. I actually made the top 5, and Thursday ends another round of voting for me to get on the cover of Mrs. Health and Fitness. Me getting on the cover of this magazine also means winning $20,000 in prizes, and as a startup founder, right, as a woman-owned business, as a small business founder, as a single mom, like that is such a blessing. So if you can help me with that, that would mean the world to me. All you need to do is just click and vote. And again, this is going to be in the link that I drop. Last but not least, I've been asking for a lot of free support because I know that not everybody is in a place where they can donate, or most people just quite frankly don't want to. But for those of you who want to do more, and I know a lot of you have messaged me and been like, how can I support you? And I've been hesitant to ask. Guys, we are officially in our friends and family round of fundraising as a startup for Mind and Body. The link right now is going to be in all of my links, and it's going to say GoFundMe, help me get on a reality TV show. And if you haven't heard too much about that, next Monday, I fly out to Tulsa, Oklahoma to do a live filming of The Blocks, which is an incubator for startups. They are on their 5th season right now, and my airing will be the 9th season. So it'll be airing in January. And it's an amazing opportunity for startups, for founders, for entrepreneurs. It's basically an incubator, a week-long incubator where you're going to be going through challenges every day, kind of like a reality challenge show, except it's not going to be drama and catty. It's going to be like, hey, pitch us your company. Hey, what's your plan for this? Hey, what's your plan for this? And you're going to be competing all day long against other business owners while getting coached by business mentors and other entrepreneurs. It is an insane opportunity, but it's also an expensive one to get everything in order for me to fly out, for me to leave the business for the week again. And so if you would like to donate to that, the link is in my bio. If every follower or friend that I had donated $1, we would have met this record. We would have met this goal a long time ago. So if that's something that you want to help go towards, if you're wondering what are we fundraising for, well, as a startup, there's a lot of needs. We're trying to get our app built, so we have to pay an app developer. We need to get rebranded, so I need to be paying a branding and a strategist. There are a lot of things that need to happen before this new product can go live. And the best part about this product that we're trying to create is that it's going to be a free app for women. You don't have to pay us. You don't have to be in the membership. You don't have to be a coaching client. I'm trying to create this free personal development app for women that helps them track their goals and their progress, their mindset goals, their physical goals, and of course, their spiritual and inner work goals. And there's nothing like that right now on the market, especially not for free. And that is what we are trying to create at Mind and Body, if you were wondering. So without further ado, again, all the links to support in any kind of way or to join the retreat are going to be here. So let's jump right in. The 4 clairs of your intuition. Now, if you heard that and you immediately thought, oh God, she's going to go crazy. She's going to be hippity dippity. This is going to be awkward. You're right. This is going to be a little hippity dippity. And I want to take a moment to kind of give you the background on my feelings about the hippity dippity and women and why it's so important that the woo woo comes to the mainstream. And here's why. So I was discussing with Coach Des. She's my personal spiritual advisor. Coach Des, I'm so blessed to have her. Her and I are so aligned. Someone predicted, it was prophesied that her and I would connect, and it has been nothing but straight alignment. Like I'm thinking, she's selling what I'm smelling what she's selling. When I make a suggestion, she's like, I was just thinking that. And when I post something, she's like, oh, that's what I was going to post today. So it's like, it's super synced up. It's beautiful. We're aligned as fuck. And I was talking to her about all of the downloads that I receive and the information I receive. And we were just talking, and she's like, honey, women are channels. That's why it's so easy. That's why we're so intuitive. And me, being Miss Mindset, Miss like neuroscience, Miss like there's a lot of me that is extremely rational and logical. And so when I'm looking at why women are able to be more intuitive and more in touch with feelings and their inner knowing, I look at the fact that how our brains are designed and how they're a little bit smaller than men, but that also means that the membranes or the hemispheres, I don't know the correct word, but that I'm going to call it a highway. The highway that connects our left and right brains for women, because our brains are smaller, it gets connected faster and so much more easier and fluid. And so that's been my explanation for why women are so in touch with their emotional side. And when she said that women are channels, I had to sit there and think about that. And I was like, she's absolutely right. And this is in alignment with everything that I talk about how when you look in the Bible, there's way more male prophets and men that were able to talk to God than there are women. I talked about this in the Lead Like a Goddess workshop, where in all the Bible, there's 11 women that were considered prophetesses from the Old and the New Testament, 11. And out of those 11 women, 2 of them were deemed evil. One of them was Jezebel and somebody else. And then out of the 9 that were left, 4 of them were virgins. And so if you take a step back and you look at this as a whole, basically what the Bible is telling us that out of the whole fucking Old and New Testament, there's only 11 women that were deemed holy, righteous enough to be able for God to talk through them, which I think is just insane, because if you believe that God is the creator and within my body, our bodies, is the ability to create life, don't you think that we might have a strong connection to God, our creator, as well? And yet religion has taught us the exact opposite, that we're not supposed to be speaking up in church, that if we do channel anything, she's probably evil or she's probably a witch, right? Let that sit, especially those of you that grew up in church like me. And if that rubs you the wrong way, I'm not, this isn't coming from a place of church hurt or anger. I've studied the Bible like the back of my hand. I have a degree in theology. This is what was shown to me. And I want you to understand that this is not sacrilegious, that this is not blasphemous. Jesus even himself came to flip the tables on the way that people were doing spirituality at the time, and they didn't like it then. And so if you don't like this, I hear you, I love you, but I'm going to still speak the truth. Women, you have been told that your gifts, that your spiritual intuitions were either evil, right, or witchcraft. That's my favorite. We got women that had intuitive abilities and knew it and were in their power. We were deemed as witches. And how convenient was it that the Bible decided to say that witchcraft is synonymous with rebellion? So now not only are we not able to practice our unique giftings, what we have to say doesn't matter. Oh, and you're a witch. Oh, and it's rebellious for you to use your giftings. So flash forward to today and you wonder, and you look at the landscape of where women stand in society and how we used to be seen as property, and how if we had sex with someone, we could get stoned to death, but King David can have sex with thousands of women and be known as a man after God's own heart. Now hear me out. This isn't a full-on like just bash on Christianity. This isn't a bash on King David. This isn't a bash on anything. This is a call to awaken and see how much of a blindfold has been on you, and how you not believing in yourself and you not believing in your powers is so much more than you realize. This has been embedded in you, not only from society, but if you are a Christian or whatever the religion is, because I'm pretty sure it was oppressing females if it's an ancient one, then this is where it comes from. And my intention is to shine a light on that so that you can understand why, no matter how hard you fight, no matter how much you believe in yourself, it just seems hard to really tap into your intuition and your strengths. It's because you have been conditioned to think that they are evil. You have been conditioned to think that they are nonsense. You've been conditioned to think that what you have to bring to the table is a soft skill that isn't relevant in this world. Can anyone relate with that? If you're watching live with me, let me know how you feel about what I'm saying so far. I love to hear responses and see comments, and sometimes people just be here and y'all don't be saying nothing. So it gives me very little to pick up on. Thank you, Shan. Yes, exactly. I knew you would understand that. Okay, so we're going to get into the meat and potatoes, and I'm going to stop my rant, but I had to preface it with that so that you guys understand where I'm coming from and I don't just start talking and you be like, she's crazy. Yeah, I am crazy, but I'm also crazy enough to stand up for what I believe to be true instead of just falling in line with stuff, even if it's, ruining people's lives. I'll talk more on that when I talk about me being bi and knowing I was bi as a minister and how I had to suppress that and how these poor kids at church. Anywho, that's a whole nother podcast. All right, so the 4 clairs of intuition. First of all, there's more clairs than the 4, but we're going to cover the top 4 that make the most sense to you and that will probably be able to resonate with you easier. So simply put, what is your intuition? I get this question a lot, Bonnie. How do you know to trust your intuition? How do you know that you're not crazy? The simplest explanation of what your intuition is an internal knowing without having a conscious or a logical explanation for it. Right? And I love this phrase, and it says knowledge or information is for the mind and experience is for the body. And so when you think of intuition, intuition is for your body to experience the knowing, where the information is for your mind to know. So when you receive intuitive information and it's felt, that is an experience that is for the body. When you get into it, when you get the logic and the rationalization and the analyzing and this and that, and it makes sense to you, that's for your mind to accept. And most of us are stuck in, I can only interpret information if it comes through my mind, logical, and reasoning. And if you are a female, the reason for that is because the society has been built up by men. And so it is built in a way that they can understand. If our society was built up with women at front and center, we'd see a lot more intuitive, how would I say this? Structures in place. There'd be a lot more fluidity in the way that we function. And I guarantee you there'd probably be a lot less wars, raping, pillaging, and murdering. But again, I digress. We're not here to bash on men. I'm just here to shine a light on how freaking amazing women are and how much we have been downplayed and how we continue to perpetuate that cycle by staying in boxes like religion or boxes like, oh, well, that's woo-woo. Bitch, that's your intuitive gift. You better quit talking about us and all these women that have tapped into it like we're freaking crazy, because once you wake up and tap into it, you're gonna be like, oh snap, this is awesome. Okay. Sorry for that just, I saw a lady writing a thing and she's like, I'm gonna teach y'all how to manifest without the woo woo. And I'm like, why do we feel the need to laugh at other women who are living in their gifts? I actually did a podcast on it. Didn't record it live. Go check it out. I dropped it this weekend, and it's called Internalized Misogyny and Unconscious Bias. And I talk about how women, we have internalized misogyny when we pick on each other, when we talk shit about each other, when we put each other down, when we prefer a man over a woman. Most people prefer male fitness trainers than females. That's the internalized misogyny. You think he's going to be tougher or stronger than a woman would. Just stuff like that. And the unconscious bias part, you already know where that's going. Give that episode a listen. Okay, so knowledge and information is for the mind, experience and is for the body, and that experience that you feel in your body is your intuition. Unlocking these gifts can be both a blessing and a burden, if you can imagine. Why? Well, we all know that people tend to latch on to us when we have things that they don't. If you have money, you probably have people that latch onto you. If you got a big booty, you probably got men following you that don't have a big booty and want yours. I'm just kidding. But no, like when you have the gift of wisdom or the gift of singing or any kind of gifts, whether it's spiritual stuff or not, people want to be around you, especially if they don't have it. And when it comes to these kinds of gifts, it can be extremely draining. And that is why women are so burnt out, because a lot of us are operating in our gifts and we don't even know it. And we're just pouring, and we're never getting poured back into. Now, how can they be a blessing and a curse? I knew I used to see, right? I believe that's the number one. Let me make sure. Clairvoyance. Yes. So clairvoyance is the gift of sight, intuitive sight, being able to either see it in your mind's eye, think like that's so Raven, like, oh my God, I can see that's going to happen now. And some of you have that. Right? But you haven't honed it in. So it comes out as being a helicopter mom, always thinking something's going to be wrong. And you don't know the difference between your brain overreacting and you actually like seeing what the outcome is going to be. And so I know that we all have them, just some of them are going to be stronger than others. And I can remember at a young age, my whole life. Now here's where don't get scared, guys. The movie Ghost. Who remembers the movie Ghost? With Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg. And Patrick Swayze dies, and there's all these spirits throughout the whole movie and black shadows coming out of the ground. As a kid, that scared me so much. And as a teenager, during some of my darkest times, and I mean dark, like it was like there was so much evil in my life, like the people I was hanging around with, the choices I was making, it was not a good time. I used to see darkness around me and around my house. And I used to wonder if I was just seeing things or if it was real. And I can remember, and my mom was just getting into church then. She was super religious and still is. And she would talk to me about angels. And she's like, yeah, angels are huge. And, they probably take up the whole room. And I was like, come again? Yeah, no, I'm good. I think I remember as soon as she said that, I was like, hey, God, so when it comes to these things that you can let people see, I would love to never, ever see anything that doesn't belong in this world. I want to see it. I don't want to see it. Some people think that's cool. I don't. I'm not the one. Don't see me. And I never really saw anything again because I set those boundaries. Like, yeah, that's not something that I want to sign up for. I'm good. Thank you. Because it was a burden to me to be able to see kind of like with your spiritual eyes. I don't want to see that junk. I'm good. I would rather feel, maybe hear or whatever. But it could also very much be a blessing for obvious reasons. I'm not going to go too deep into that one, but just kind of showing you how it can be a blessing and both a curse, on yourself and people who have trouble accessing their own intuition and accessing their own gifts. So they drain you. And what'll happen a lot of times, and you guys see me go through this at least once a year, where when you get drained of people using your gifts, you shut it down. And I think like last summer at some point, like I shut it down. And right now from like December to these last 6 months, as far as like one-on-one coaching, I shut it down because I was drained, not necessarily from the coaching, but like from everything, from serving and then having everyone tell me how I should be serving my clients who aren't even in touch with their intuition. So I was like, I'm going to take a break. Y'all get out of my face. Right. So it makes it hard to go through life with your natural skill set when you don't know how to tame it, when you don't know how to tap into it. And then when you're surrounded around other people who aren't awakened to theirs and they're drawn to yours instead. Another thing I wanted to bring up earlier that I didn't get to is that, ladies, we've been taught that the things that we do, stuff like this, because it's not measured, it doesn't matter, but it does matter and it's extremely important. So clairvoyance or clair intuition types. This, first off, the way that you can understand and learn which one is strongest for you is to think about how you perceive information or how you learn information, right? Some of us are more auditory. Some of us are more kinesthetic. Some of us need to, think about the way that you learn. Take a moment, and if you maybe want to write this down, and if you're listening to this podcast on a replay, you can come back and really replay I do tend to learn better like this. Or if you're like me, all four of them are your preferred methods. You just tend to lean into ones at different times, right? Okay. Think about how you perceive information. The first example I want you to think about is if you were in a foreign land and you had to communicate with someone, and they showed you a picture and all of a sudden you know what they were talking about. Or maybe they use hand gestures and all of a sudden you know what they're talking about. Or their expression and their vocal variety change, and that's how you knew what they were talking about. These are ways, this is the same way that your intuition will communicate with you, right? And so since intuition is like, sorry, let me go backwards. The word clair means clear. So whatever suffix that we add on is going to be like clear sight, clear audio, clear feeling. That's what the clairvoyance means. So the first one is clairvoyance. You interpret energy visually. So if I were to say, how does a green apple taste, or what does that feel like? And you can see it in your head, and I tell you to spin the apple around, or I tell you to change it from green to red. Can you do that in your mind's eye? Is that easy for you? When I say imagine you're on a tropical island, are you able to see everything in front of you, or is that hard for you to do? If you're able to see it, you probably are someone who learns better visually, which means that if you were to look at your intuitive gifts, you probably are able to see things in your life or other people's lives that you didn't realize because you haven't been aware of it. So if you are a visual learner, I want you to pay attention to how you interpret information and start being on the lookout for if you can see things, right? Okay, pretty simple. The next one, Clairaudience. This is for my people like me who are always dancing. You hear music in your head that nobody can hear, or it always seems like you're hearing stuff or you're listening. Now, I know for sure Clairaudience is one of my biggest ones, and here's a couple stories. Again, I don't want to scare you guys, but I need to solidify my case. So when I first moved, I had a townhome a few years ago to where I raised my kids. Freaking loved that place. And I prayed for it. I manifested it and everything was perfect. But I was terrified in this home. Because remember I said, I asked God, I was like, I don't want to see anything. I didn't see anything, but I was just scared. I didn't like being in the dark. This apartment had, kind of like right now, how I have a big, beautiful view. This townhouse had a balcony in the master bedroom. And then right below downstairs, it had another sliding glass door for the living room patio. And then in the kitchen, it had another huge sliding glass door. And because I had boys, we were always missing blinds, and it made it very scary at night because you could always see in. And even though I never saw anything, I was terrified. And I remember one night laying in bed in the dark and just being so afraid in my house. And I could have, like, with everything in me, I could have sworn I heard someone say, "Bonnie!" But not like audibly. Like I knew no one else would have heard it, but I heard it like internally. And I was like, oh, hell no. And I called some friends from church. We prayed over the house, and I shit you not, I was never afraid in that house again. So much, in fact, I would walk through the house at night, lights completely off, all of the blinds open, just to show like I was not afraid anymore. But that was one of the first times that I realized I can hear, just hear that inner knowing. The second time was at that same house when I had fallen into depression, and you guys know the story. I was drinking 1 to 2 bottles of wine a night, stuck on my iPad, just playing games, just wasting my life away, just living to pay bills and drink and party, and just gave up on my calling. I was done, right? Well, the thing that brought me back into life was I kept hearing a still small voice like, "You're wasting time. You're wasting time. You're wasting time." And just like that, Bonnie, like I ignored that still small voice for so long until one day it was just loud as fuck, like, "You're wasting time." And I remember getting into like a shout match with God. Like, "What do you want me to do? I did everything. I dropped out of nursing school. I went to school to learn the Bible and to be a minister, and it didn't work out. What do you want me to do?" Right? So, but I'm looking back and I'm like, wow, there's been so many times where I just hear things. And if you are ever on a coaching call with me or a podcast or just in real life and you see me jump from topic to topic to topic to topic, yes, it's ADHD, but it's also sometimes I will just hear a sentence that needs to get out. Otherwise, I'm going to forget it. Even during my meditation, like I will hear a sentence. I'm like, I have to write that down because there's no way in hell I'm going to remember that sentence. So Clairaudience, you probably are a very powerful auditory learner. Like if you hear it, you will remember it verbatim. I remember I used to be able to recite the entire Clueless movie, like from the beginning, where they roll up in the Jeep and the music's playing. Like I could recite that whole movie, looking out a dirty old window. Like I can remember the song, and I remember Cher talking so stupid as she's like, "Oh my God, who did that stop sign? This is where D here. This is where D lives." And like I could remember that whole thing. I'm also really good with songs. Like I'll remember the lyrics to certain songs verbatim. Ask me to rap "Lose Yourself" by Eminem. I will get it from every single word. So clairvoyance is actually one of my strongest intuitive gifts, which is funny because I get accused of being a poor listener. And I realize it's, yes, a little ADHD and inability to focus, but it's also because there's so many other things going on in my head. And I'm always listening to everything around me. So clairaudience is the second clair that I want to touch on. The third one, which I think is really cool, and it's also a strong one of mine, clairsentience. Sentience. Think like sentir. Is that, no, that's to leave in Spanish, isn't it? I can't remember. But sentience, like that's the ability to feel or to touch. So if we were to do the apple thing again, if I had told you to envision an apple, can you imagine how waxy the skin feels? Can you imagine how it would feel to crunch into it, or how it tastes? Well, that's another one, the taste one. But clairsentience is that ability to touch and to feel. This is also a very strong one for me. Like if you've ever worked out with me in person, you know that I'm a toucher, but I'm going to ask. I'm like, hey, I'm going to touch your lat to make sure that you're actually using your lat to do that lat pull down. Hey, I'm going to stab you on the side of your booty to make sure that your glute medius is actually firing. Like I'm a toucher. I like to hold. I'm a very touchy person. And so for me, that's one of my strongest ones, but it also means, and here's for you empaths, that your ability to feel is so strong. And that's why I cry so easily. That's why I tend to get angry. Like I feel stuff and it is so freaking powerful. And the curse for that, the downside is that because I know I feel so hard, sometimes I will shut it down and just completely shut people out because I know they're going through something and I don't have the space to feel all of what's going on for them. I can be around people and just know, even if they've got the smile on, I can feel their energy and just know that something's not right. And that's why I'm always saying on these lives, if you're here with me live, drop a hashtag I'm here or wave, let me know you're here so I can feel your energy, because sometimes there's a download that I can hear for you, but I won't know if I don't, know that you're here and like feel your energy here on this live with me. So the last one is claircognizant. We know what cognizant means. It means the knowing. And so claircognizance is just an inner knowing, which is hard if you have any of the other ones as your strong one, because they come so fast to you, you just know. Like for me, I can just feel it. Oh yeah, no, this doesn't feel like a good place. We got to get the hell up out of here. Like the time that I knew someone was in my house when they robbed me, I knew someone was in my closet, but I didn't hear anything. I didn't smell anything. Nothing about it let me know someone was in the house. I just had a internal feeling. So I don't know if that's more clairsentience, like I could feel it, or if it was just that claircognizance that it was knowing. And that's where it gets tricky, right? If you're not a super emotional person, if you're not hearing voices like my ass all the time, and if you can't see things in your mind's eye, but you just know, then your strongest intuitive gift might be claircognizance, that inner knowing. You're not bound to just one, right? We all have them, but some people tend to lean more towards one than the other. Some of us have a little bit of all of them. And again, this doesn't cover all of them. These are just the four main ones that make the most sense. Clear sight, clairvoyance, clear hearing, clairaudience, clairsentience, clear touch and feeling, and claircognizance, a clear knowing. So those are the four clairs of your intuition. And my suggestion, if you have no idea how to tap into those and you're just like, I wouldn't know what to do, my suggestion for you is this. Start with your personal fitness, whether it is yoga, whether it is like lifting weights, some sort of movement in your body, because the more connected you are with your body, the more you'll be able to understand what's going on. If you're someone that ignores your hunger cues, if you're someone that ignores when you have to go to the bathroom, or when you have a bad feeling, you ignore it anyways because you like to people please. If you are in the habit of that, your intuition is probably not going to be as strong, because the same way that you teach your body not to eat by ignoring your hunger cues, If you ignore your intuition when it's telling you something, it will learn after a while, hey, she doesn't want to hear us, so let's stop talking to her. So my suggestion to you is, if you feel completely cut off from your intuition, this is why at Mind and Body we do both. We do the spiritual, the inner work, and the physical work, because you are one human being. You are not separate. Your mind is not different than your soul. Your soul is not different than your body. If one of these is off, you're going to see it in your life. And so I hope that this was helpful to you. I would love your feedback. If you're listening to this podcast episode on the podcast, do me a favor and shoot me a DM on Facebook or on Instagram, Siobhan Bonnie or Siobhan Bonnie Patterson on Facebook. I would love to hear how this episode landed for you. That's all that I have for you guys today. Be sure to share this with someone that needs to hear it. Come back and listen to it if you need to. And if you're listening to all of this and you're like, yo, I want to dive deeper into this. Yo, I need a little more guidance on this. Even though I'm not doing one-on-one coaching, like long programs in the way that I used to, I am doing one-on-one calls now, whether it's for an entrepreneur that wants to use their intuition a little bit more in their business and wants to know how to pair strategy with intuition, or whether you're just a beautiful woman that wants to learn how to get a hold of her mindset, tap into her intuition, and live a life that is aligned and by design. You can book those calls without committing to a full-on coaching program now. So all of those links are in my bio. Go check them out. Again, if you want to support the Mind and Body movement, the link is it'll be in the show notes as well. Say mindandbody.co/Bonnie. This time next week, I will be filming for my reality TV show, Lord willing. We're still fundraising for that. And I'm like, oh my God, it starts next week. So if you want to help make sure that we get on TV and this message that we're trying to spread and this platform that we're trying to build, if you want to contribute to that, make sure that you click the link in bio and that you support. I love you guys to the moon and back. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Boss Life with Bonds. I will see you next time. Peace. All right, party people. I'm going to read some comments before I shut this one down. What's up, Jennifer? There would be a lot more flexibility and growth mentally. Oof, especially with white women. Mine goes from the feeling of the energy. Yep. All the time, that's what happens to me. I feel like the energy and I hear them. Yes, girl. That's why I have so many freaking journals, because there's just so much happening, and downplay your emotions is invalid because you can never trust the way it feels. And it's like, you can trust it, just people tell you it's crazy. Ooh, so I love you ladies. Have a great, I was hoping Coach Tish was here. She usually drops links in the comments for me. I'm going to come back and drop this link in the comment for you guys. And then we're going to be out. Well, I'm going to be out. Bye guys.